Good afternoon. My name is Eric Orff. I'm from Epsom, New Hampshire. I'm a certified wildlife biologist and currently work as a consultant to the National Wildlife Federation. I'm also on the Fishing Game Commission. I serve on a voluntary board of 11 commissioners appointed by the governor to oversee the Fishing Game Department in New Hampshire. I've had a 4-decade-long career as a wildlife biologist, serving over 31 years as a wildlife biologist in the New Hampshire Fishing Game Department until my retirement in June of 2007. I was the state's first black bear biologist beginning in 1978, never having seen a bear in the wild, I must add. And soon thereafter, I became the fur bearer biologist. In my lifetime of living 50 of my 62 years in New Hampshire, I've seen winter disappear. When my family moved from Maine to New Hampshire in 1962, I soon discovered a local marsh called Little Coas Marsh, created by the Fishing Game Department in the 1950s to bolster the duck population. I also discovered wood duck nesting boxes placed there by the department to bolster the cavity nesting ducks. By 1965, I joined the local Fishing Game Club and convinced them to fund a project to allow me to build another dozen boxes to add to the marsh. I began to check them each winter. In fact, my parents had bought me snowshoes for Christmas in 1964 so I could travel to the marsh that I deeply loved in the deep snow. I regularly checked the boxes in the winter for signs of ducks for years to come. By the middle of the 1980s, I also became the regional wildlife biologist, and one of my assigned duties was to check the duck boxes at Little Coas Marsh. I was actually paid to do what I wanted to do most as a teen. Imagine that. Here again, the snow was deep, and through the 1980s, I used a snow machine or snowshoes to hike the mile-long marsh. By the mid-1990s, the snow was gone most winters, so I used a wheeled ATV to get around the marshes. By the 2000s, the ice was not safe for me to use a machine on the ice. In fact, the last winter that I worked, the winter of 2007, I was supposed to check the duck boxes, but there was no ice in January. There was no ice in February or March. There was no ice, no safe ice that winter to check the duck nesting boxes. In 3 of the last 5 years, in fact, there has been little ice on Little Coas Marsh. Winter has disappeared in southern New Hampshire during my lifetime. The unusually warm winters have raised havoc also with our moose. These same 2 warm winters are killing off our moose with spikes in moose winter ticks. The moose population has declined some 40% in the last 6 years, from about 7,500 moose to now about 4,500 moose. In the meantime, the Fishing Game Department and the Commission, which I'm a member of, has had to cut the moose hunting permits by some 60%. In my decade-long observation of waterfowl populations migrating to the state, saw them migrating later as well. Consequently, duck hunters have demanded an adjustment to duck season, and now our season runs to mid-January, where it used to be only in December. And we have bears active all winter long, something not seen in the first 2 decades of my career. Imagine insomniac bears. The lack of snow and ice this past winter devastated New Hampshire's outdoor businesses. Ice fishing equipment sales were off some 60% based on the shop owners I have known for decades. And the local snow machine dealer in my town, they're off over 50%. Carbon pollution is impacting much of New Hampshire's fish and wildlife and the businesses that depend on them. I urge you to support and pass this regulation. Thank you very much.